Week 14 of the NFL season wraps up with a very interesting matchup as the LA Chargers host the suddenly struggling Philadelphia Eagles, I want to say. Philly, the 3-point road fave still. And if you're looking for what to bet, you've come to the right place because we will break down just that. And we'll talk about Justin Herbert with that non-throwing hand injury. Omarion Hampton looks like he's back. And of course, much, much more. Please be sure to like and subscribe. We have preview content for all the primetime games and much more on our channel. Turn those notifications on so you do not miss a thing. Nick, your thoughts on that Justin Herbert injury to that non-throwing hand? He said the surgery went well, but does something like this create a bit of concern from a betting perspective, whether it's Herbert props or even if people are out there thinking about betting the Chargers +3 or an upset pick?
To me, it certainly does. I mean, we still don't know how well Justin Herbert can handle the football. And we saw last week in the Steelers game, Aaron Rodgers trying to play with a broken left wrist, and he can't really handle the football with his left hand, meaning he can't hand off with that hand or execute play fakes, which are a huge part of the Chargers offense. So it makes it really tough, especially with an offensive line that's banged up, 30th in pass block win rate, and a Chargers offense that's 28th in EPA per play over the past 4 weeks. If Herbert has to sit back there in the shotgun or the pistol all game, that means the Eagles' defensive line can tee off, and that's not a great spot to be for a Chargers bettor.
Some good news out of the Chargers backfield. Omarion Hampton is, quote, on track and looking good, close quote, to play in this one, according to Jim Harbaugh, at least. We most recently saw that two-headed monster of Swift and Monangai run all over Philly on Black Friday. Do you expect more of the same from this Chargers backfield, whether it is a combo of Vidal and Hampton, or even former Mac legend Jarrett Patterson? Thoughts on any sort of appetite for props from the Chargers backfield here?
Well, I'd be very careful with those numbers, and I'm just going to wait to see how far up they get, and it might actually fade the Chargers backs here because, you know, how healthy is Hampton really? Is he a full go? And honestly, Vic Fangio's defense gave up the most rushing yards by one of his units in 20 years. So he's not going to let that happen again on Monday Night Football.
Philly has dropped, a few games this season. The offense looks poor. Still have the good record, though, and much like the conversations that me and you and me and IMAC have had surrounding, the Lions and the Chiefs, there's still some good underlying metrics here with this team. But I just have to wonder, if this Eagles team is cooked, Nick, or still a contender to win the NFC. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, obviously the offense has some major problems. Their offensive line just isn't sustaining blocks and displacing defenders at the same rate we saw last year, which is the biggest reason for their struggles to me. Jalen Hurts has played serviceable football, 11th in APA per play this season, 19 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So he's still playing positive ball there. But I really think the Eagles defense can still keep them in football games. They're 8th in EPA per play across the past 4 weeks, despite last week's debacle, 6th in drop back success rate allowed, and they have one of the easiest remaining schedules in the league. So don't discount that. 2 games upcoming with the Washington Commanders and the Las Vegas Raiders on the docket. So 11 wins are probably going to get them the NFC East Championship unless the Cowboys win out. And from there, anything's really possible in the playoffs. The Eagles 73 straight up in their last 10 home playoff games at the Link and 5-0 in the Nick Sirianni era.
What do you guys at home think? Is this Eagles team still a contender? The back-to-back losses coming into this one against Dallas and then against the Bears, like we talked about, where they were gashed by that Bears two-headed monster in the backfield. Very interesting times, and interesting for offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo here. Nick, recently, his house is getting egged in a tough economy, no less. The team is struggling to score points. Do you think he's on thin ice, Nick?
Oh, certainly. You can almost guarantee that, unless the Eagles win the Super Bowl, the Monday after they're eliminated, he's probably one of the first guys shown the door. And I know he's been with the organization for a while, and they tried to hire in-house, but maybe they go looking for a big fish after this season's debacle. I know they've had some injuries up front, but the offense, like I said, had just grown stale. And they tried to put more on Hurts's plate and taken away kind of the RPOs and such that worked last year, and it just hasn't come to fruition. So they really need to find a way to get Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown more involved. Brown with just 699 yards this season and a career low 12.5 yards per reception. So if you're on the Eagles on Monday Night Football, I'd also be on those receivers props as well.
Interesting. Another player that's been just kind of underwhelming, and you can feel free to pat yourself on the back for this, but Saquon Barkley, underwhelming this season, and fantasy owners and prop bettors alike have been waiting for it. So is there a Saquon breakout game incoming here, Nick? 70 and a half, rushing yards, the number at DraftKings as we sit here a few days out, averaging just a measly 62 per game this season, though. Nick, your thoughts on Saquon?
Yeah, I tried to tell everybody he wasn't going to be the same in the offseason. You know, anytime a back gets a tale as old as time, has over 400 touches the previous year, he's just not the same in the following season. So, a tough, as we've gone over, a tough year for the Phillies offense all the way around. But this is the game to really get Saquon going. The Chargers' 25th ranked rushing defense is vulnerable, and I think they're going to hand the ball to Saquon a lot more here, especially over the past couple of weeks. We've just seen the Eagles' offense just fail to put anything together and fail to sustain drives, and they need to get back to running the football. So I take a close look at Saquon props and also take a look at backup Tank Bigsby because he might be in the game more than you think as well.
Let us know in the comments if you guys are on the over or under on Saquon props for this one, or even Tank, like Nick pointed out. We'll get Nick's pick in a second here, but folks, you can get Prop Professor for 50% off for the first month right now. This app drops hundreds of plus EV bets every day, and it gives you a real shot at finding long-term profit. You can sort through plays across the NFL, college football, the NBA, and much more. It's got tools for arbitrage betting. It's got a fantasy optimizer. It's easily the best bang for buck app on the market. Use the promo code OddShark50 at checkout and get 50% off for that first month. All right, Nick, let's get to your pick here. Like we mentioned, Chargers 3-point home dogs here. Low total, 40.5 on the board right now. The over -115. The under comes back at -105. The Eagles -155 on the money line. Chargers +130. What are you playing here?
Yeah, the Chargers, I think, have benefited from a weak schedule in the middle of this season. They're just actually 3-7 against the spread since week 2 and have only covered against the Vikings, Steelers, and Raiders in that span. Those teams over the past 4 weeks have combined for a 1-12 straight up record. Plus, road favorites of 3 or more this season have been dominant, going 34-13 straight up. So I'm on the Eagles money line at -155. I think the injuries to both starting tackles as well as Herbert's ailment are just too much for this Chargers team to overcome.